Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm bringing an OG Kanto legendary bird to the Open Great League because secretly, it's an amazing Corebreaker right now. The bird I'm using is Zapdos, and regular Zapdos, non-Shadow, has made top cut at the past two regionals in Rio and in San Antonio. The reason why people are preferring the non-Shadow Zapdos is with the extra bulk, it allows it to do some crazy things such as beating Corsola in the 2-shield by making it to 4 drill packs before Corsola gets to a 3rd Nightshade. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and I'm going to showcase a team that I went 15-5 with in the Open Great League, from Expert to just shy of Legend. And we're off to an amazing start in the first match, leading Zapdos into Corviknight. They safe switch Feraligatr, and they just have absolutely nothing for Zapdos. Oh my goodness. Zapdos, I'm more than happy to shield, and the fact that I'm the regular Zapdos does mean that I'm able to tank these Shadow Claws way better than the Shadow Zapdos ever could. Drill Peck is going to pick up the knockout, down goes Feraligatr. We'll have to see what they have in the back. Opponent, they're not going to send in Corviknight, they bring in more Pekko. I farm up too much and I play to a CMP tie that I do not win. That is my fault. I definitely should have just thrown the Drill Peck sooner, as even a resisted Drill Peck would do quite a lot of damage. Now I'm going to bring in Gastrodon. I debated quite a bit what the third on this team should be. I initially tried actually Araquanid, and I did not end up caring for how Araquanid felt on the team. Also, I really didn't want to be ABA weak to Bastiodon during Go Battle Weekend, as Bastiodon is absolutely everywhere. So I settled on Gastrodon, and Gastrodon was able to put in some very nice work, especially due to the fact that a lot of teams are safe switching Shadow Drapion. In this endgame, I'm just completely winning because I get to a superpower. I just needed to land damage before Corviknight was able to knock me out. Even though I'm debuffed, they can never farm me down, so they're forced to go for the Iron Head. And from here, it's a very straightforward win for the Gastrodon. Gastrodon can just continually farm up more and more energy. The moment they switch in more Pekko, they're immediately greeted with a Mud Slap and a Body Slam. That combination is going to be lethal. Down goes more Pekko. In comes the Corviknight, and the opponent will concede the match. Zapdos versus Shadow Feraligatr in the next match. Opponent is going to save switch into Shadow Drapion. I farm up, switch into Gastrodon as they make the Aqua Tail and get the catch and a full Mud Slap sneak. This just puts me so far ahead in this matchup. I do have the rank 1 Gastrodon. It was caught a year before Gastrodon got access to Mud Slap. I just found it in the wild during, I think it was the Global Go Fest of 2023, and kept it because it was a rank 1 Pokemon. It was terrible back then, but I held on to it on the off chance that it might become good, and oh my goodness, has that paid off. In this battle, we run into yet another example of people running ABA teams during the Go Battle League weekend. They have Feraligatr lead with a Azumarill in the back, so when they're leading to Zapdos, there's just nothing they can really do. So I just get to massively overfarm with the Zapdos, fire off this Drill Peck right before I reach 100 energy. Drill Peck will KO, and this poor Feraligatr is about to get absolutely destroyed. They have no hope of ever Shadow Clawing down. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Let's move to the next game, Zapdos versus Dunsparce. So now we do see a bad lead with the team. The safe switch, always going to be Malamar. Opponent is going to respond with Azumarill, and believe it or not, Malamar can actually win the 2s here. The uncomfortable thing about winning the 2s is that the opponent, the Azumarill, is typically never going to shield. So I'm going to have to go down 2 shields while my opponent doesn't use a single one. But winning switch advantage for me is that important, because I need to make sure that under no circumstances Zapdos is aligned to Dunsparce. So I fire off the foul play. It's going to be a CMP tie, and this looks like the perfect range to go for a Psywave farm down. Azumarill is staying in, and that's great for me. I'm going to exit with so much energy. Let's see, are they going to bring back in the Dunsparce to get hit with superpowers? No, they're going to bring in Talonflame. And switch advantage is absolutely everything in this game. Foul play is going to connect. I get to fire off another foul play. And if they want to keep this Talonflame around, they're going to have to shield. They will shield. I can't make a foul play, but I can make a superpower, and even a resisted superpower will add up. Talonflame is going to shield. They exit with a ton of energy, and now it's time. In comes Zapdos. Can Zapdos live a Brave Bird? It is resisted damage. Brave Bird does not KO. In comes Dunsparce. I bank a Drill Peck for later and send in Gastrodon. Gastrodon is down on energy, but I believe having that Drill Peck could potentially prove to be very, very clutch for me later in the match if I need it. They're going to fire off another drill run, getting Gastrodon into the red health. For Gastrodon, I just need to make it to an Earth Power plus a Body Slam, because an Earth Power will not knock out, but the Body Slam will, and I win the CMP tie over the opponent's Dunsparce. Body Slam KOs, in comes Talonflame. Talonflame actually gets Mud Slap down, but even if they were able to farm down, I win CMP, and I had the Drill Peck stored. We move to the next match. This is another good lead, Zapdos versus Jumpluff. Jumpluff's energy is completely walled here. Of course, Fairy Wind is going to hit for neutral damage, but Energy Ball, not a particularly threatening attack. Drill Peck is going to KO. I'm always going to be no shielding here. Opponent is running Acrobatics, and that actually does hit for quite a bit of damage. This is, of course, a regular Zapdos, so it has a bit more bulk than the Shadow, but it's still a Zapdos. And these are lucky IVs. Opponent is going to send in Feraligatr. I do not want to concede a farm down to the Feraligatr, as Feraligatr up energy is very scary, so I'm going to grab the shield and pivot into Malamar. Malamar going to have to immediately give the shield back, but I was able to get a bit of an energy head start. I'm farming up. Opponent now going to bring in a Azumarill. I have a ton of energy on the Malamar, and my goal is now very clear. I need to take advantage of the desync in the switch timers. I switched out, my opponent stayed in to throw, and they farmed up a bunch before switching out. That means I'm going to be able to switch before they are. So I'm going to farm over 100 energy just to leave with 100, and now I can send in Gastrodon. Gastrodon going to be immediately met with a play rough from the Azumarill. Azumarill continuing to farm. They're going to switch into Feraligatr, and I will go for the Body Slam bait. This bait is a bit risky, but it pays off. Feraligatr commits the shield. They don't want to take any more damage, so they will fire off the Hydro Cannon, but they didn't leave with a move, and that's what they needed to do. However, I want a bit more farm. I'm going for a foul play here. They did not farm up a lot. That's going to give me a farm down, exiting with even more energy. So this way, if I need 2 moves versus the Azumarill, I can get there. Foul play leaves him on 1 HP. Snipe with the Thunder Shock on the Zapdos, and we're able to clutch that win. Moving to the next match, Zapdos versus Azumarill. Zapdos was picking up a lot of very favorable leads for me today. They're going to save switch into Drapion. I tried for the catch that I got earlier versus the Drapion save switch. Unfortunately, it was not successful. So my opponent is going to be able to fire off multiple crunches. I go for the Body Slam. As Body Slam, if I try and throw 1 Mud Slap at the Body Slam, then they could actually outpace. Here my opponent makes a misplay. They end up throwing on Alignment, and giving me a free Mud Slap gives me full license to farm all the way down. Back in comes the Azumarill, but now I'm worried. If I let the Azumarill bubble me all the way down, they're going to have way too much energy for the Zapdos, so I'm pivoting out. I send in the Zapdos. Earth Power does get a defense drop, so a bit of good luck does go my way. And I will commit the shield. Let's see what they have back there. It's going to be a Dunsparce. Not ideal, but Zapdos hits very, very hard. Thunderbolt connects. It looks like with the Thunder Shocks, a second Thunderbolt will actually be able to knock out my opponent. So I fire off Thunderbolt number 2. That's going to be shielded. Opponent overfarms as much as they possibly can. If they did 1 more rollout, I would have got the Drill Peck. Rock Slide is going to KO. In comes Malamar, and this is going to be a very interesting endgame. It looks like they will be able to make it to a second drill run, but a second drill run would not knock me out. I just need energy on the Malamar. They will fire off their move. It is going to be another drill run, and then they're probably going to look to switch. There's the switch into the Azumarill, and now I get to fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play is going to connect. There's the switch to the Gastrodon. Gastrodon gets the Body Slam. That's a CMP tie, so I'm going to go for an undercharge. Because, honestly, I don't need to KO the Azumarill. What I want is farm on the Malamar. So Malamar is going to be brought back in, get the Psywave down, and that's the superpower that we need to win the game. So a very clutch undercharge on that Body Slam turns a pretty tricky endgame into a pretty simple one. Let's go to the next match, and this is not a great lead. Zapdos versus Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff absolutely everywhere on Go Battle Weekend. And unfortunately, Zapdos, while it can do quite well in terms of damaging the Wigglytuff, the one thing you can't shield is going to be fast moves. I decide to let the Zapdos go. I am fully sacrificing it in exchange for massive Gastrodon farm. Here, I actually lag by 1 turn when I bring in the Gastrodon, and then my opponent gets the damage registration error. They never should have got that Swift, but unfortunately they did. Malamar is brought on the field when they bring in Corsola, and their final Pokemon is revealed to be Annihilate. If I had a lot more health on the Gastrodon, if the game had worked correctly, I would honestly feel pretty good here. But now, this is feeling like a tough fight. I may need to just commit to a full farm down with the Malamar if I want a chance to win. This is now going to be a +2 Annihilate. The Psywaves are adding up. I get the farm down. In comes Corsola, and Corsola will immediately be met with the Foul Play. Foul Play into the Corsola is going to connect. I get Foul Play number 2, and then I'm going to look to switch into Gastrodon. In comes the Gastrodon. I throw a Mud Slap, and I get the Earth Power. Is this going to be enough to knock out the Corsola? Hangs on 1 HP, but their Astonis is a 3-turn move. My Psywave's a 1-turn move. Psywave will always go first, so even though we were both at very low health, I'm the one who's able to come away with the win. Zapdos versus Diggersby. Terrible lead for the Zapdos, of course. Thundershock's going to be double resisted, so I'm going to save switch into Malamar. Malamar going to strike first with a Foul Play. My opponent knows that since I'm switch locked, I'm basically never going to throw a superpower instantly, so it's a pretty safe no shield, but I just want chip damage on the Diggersby to try and make my life easier later on. Opponent now going to send in Shadow Drapion, so they're running a line that is very ABA weak to Annihilate, as Drapion also has a terrible matchup there. My opponent is going to fire off a move, and I just have to let it go. I'm too low and too debuffed. Instead, I'm going to bring in Gastrodon. Gastrodon can tank any one move, but Shadow Crunch still makes its presence felt. I switch into the Zapdos, and I get an aggressive farm down. In comes Diggersby, and I really need Zapdos to have good play against what they have in the back. So Zapdos is going to fire off Drill Peck, that's going to connect, and they're going to go for a Fire Punch, and I will commit the shield. Since I was able to land a Foul Play earlier, I was able to put this Mon into double Drill Peck range. So suddenly, this feels very playable for me. Drill Peck into the Diggersby, picks up the KO. In the back is Corsola, and this is one of the reasons why you run the regular Zapdos. But I've already taken a lot of damage in this fight. I'm going to switch into the Gastrodon, and I'm the rank 1 Gastrodon. I need to survive this and make the Earth Power, but I'm too low. I only get the Body Slam, and a Body Slam is not going to cut it here. Corsola very comfortably lets that go, and unfortunately that game is going to end in a loss. Zapdos versus Shadow Marowak. We've got the back-to-back ground-type leads. Now Shadow Marowak, they do have to land a Rock Slide to win the zeros. If they do bait, then Zapdos can actually emerge victorious there. But I really don't want to risk it, so I'm just going to throw one switch and make a nice catch onto the Malamar, and I catch the Rock Slide, so I'm able to make my opponent use their energy inefficiently. They will go for a Bone Club. I'm going to commit the shield and commit to a full farm down if they decide to stay in here, and they do, and Malamar gets to completely remove Marowak from the field of play. In comes Drapion. Drapion immediately met with a superpower. That's going to be shielded up, and I get superpower number 2. This superpower is going to be doing some okay damage there, and I'm going to aggressively pivot into the Gastrodon because I've seen this team before. This is a team featured by its accent. After I saw the Marowak and the Drapion, I knew what the third was. And considering there's a Dugong lurking in the back, I felt pretty safe to hard switch lock in my Gastrodon. Gastrodon now going to be debuffed. I will make the Earth Power on the CMP tie, and that's very good for me. Earth Power is going to KO the Dugong. In comes Drapion. Drapion did store a bunch of energy before switching out. They go for the Crunch. That's going to KO, but I have a bunch of energy on my Zapdos. Zapdos going for the Drill Peck. This will be a race. Who can get to the double charge moves first? I throw mine. Are they at the back-to-back? They are, and this game is a win because Zapdos has a very high attack stat. It's going to win the CMP tie over the Drapion. So that game did get a bit scary, but we're able to fight back despite an awkward lead and emerge as the victor. Picking up a bad lead in the next match, Zapdos into Dugong. This team is ABA weak to Dugong since both Zapdos and Gastrodon have negative matchups. I safe switch Malamar, out comes Wigglytuff, and this is going incredibly poorly. Superpower is going to land. I get to throw 4 more Psywaves and another Superpower, and I believe this will just be enough to knock out. Superpower does get shielded. I can't really bring in the Zapdos, so I'm forced to send in Gastrodon. I really need Zapdos up energy at some point to try and sweep this game. I'm farming up quite a bit with the Gastrodon. I do exit with energy, which is very nice, but it's a Drifblim in the back, and I think this is just a loss. Dugong is going to fire off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind, I will of course be shielding up, and then because they're pretty weak to electric damage, I will go for a bait. I see it as my only way forward. The Drill Peck bait is going to be shielded. I will now make it to a Thunderbolt. Is this going to be enough to KO? Come on, Zapdos. I know you're debuffed. Thunderbolt just does not KO. The debuff from the Icy Wind helps the Dugong barely hang on. Icy Wind is going to be shielded. In comes Drifblim. I bank a Drill Peck and quick switch into Gastrodon. This allows me to reset the debuff on the Zapdos so that way my Drill Peck will be at full power. I land in Earth Power. I can't get to another one. I'm going for the Body Slam. I need this to put it into Drill Peck range. It's going to be close. We were triple hard countered. Did we fight back and get the win? No, the Drifblim hangs on with just a couple HP remaining. But for being Mon for Mon countered, I think we were able to make it just about as close as one could possibly do. Alright, we move to the final match. Zapdos into Jumpluff, opponent safe switches into Drapion, and I am just going to send out the Gastrodon. Gastrodon, of course, has a terrific matchup here. Opponent will go for the Crunch. Gastrodon, unbothered, as it's now going to go for the Body Slam. This will not knock out, but it will put it into one Mud Slap range, and the Mud Slap, of course, will knock out, denying any energy. In comes Jumpluff. I'm going to farm up a lot with the Gastrodon because I don't really value Body Slam damage. What I value is them throwing a move to KO me before they actually end up farming up a ton. They go for an Aerial Ace after all, so they will get farmed, and I will be able to land these Body Slams, but realistically, I don't really value this damage. More so, I just did not want them to have a ton of energy, as 2 energy balls do add up on Zapdos. Here I bring in the Zapdos, and I get the 1-turn Bring and Lag, which denies my fast move. So Aerial Ace, not the move you typically want to go for here. In the back is Bibarel, so Bibarel rollout, of course, will hit for super effective damage onto the Zapdos, but overall, another Pokemon that is technically weak to this electric plus flying coverage. Bibarel is going to be shielding up, and one thing I want you to notice in this matchup is look how much damage Bibarel takes from Psywave. Psywave has this Pokemon at half HP, which is absolutely ridiculous. I will commit the shield and go for another foul play. I just need to get shields down from my opponent. They shield, I switch into Zapdos, and at this point, this game is over. They will be able to grab my final shield with a Surf, but Zapdos energy is just too good. I'm able to get to the back-to-back Drill Pecks here. I believe this is going to be a CMP tie. They can barely hang on and fire off a last-second charge attack. It will be the Aerial Ace, and that's not going to matter, as I can Thunder Shock down, exit with a Thunderbolt loaded, and as the rollout comes through, Thunderbolt is massive overkill on that Bibarel, and that is a good game. All in all, I had a ton of fun with this team. This team started off as just, I wanted to run Zapdos because it had top cut at 2 regionals, but the team itself performed amazingly. As I mentioned, I went from starting around Expert to getting back to Legend rank, so around 200, 250 points gained in a few short sets. So overall, after going through a lot of RPS Go Battle weekend battles, I was very happy to have a team that really felt like it was able to cut through a lot of that and just really deliver consistent results. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.